Because I talked about this last year. I did a video about the urban e-bike scourge in Philadelphia, and many comments to the effect of saying, Fran, why are you exaggerating? You're saying that these e-bikes are doing 30 miles an hour on the sidewalk, and you know that they can't do that. They're 15 miles an hour. That's what they do at 15. Why are you lying to people? Why are you exaggerating? No, I wasn't exaggerating at all, and I'm certainly not lying about it. And to emphasize my point, cover of the Inquirer, electric bikes, scooters pose safety risk in Philly. There we go. So yeah, as I said last year, and people I guess didn't believe me, there's quite a cottage industry in the city of building either custom built or modified e-bikes. They'll take an off-the-shelf e-bike, modify it with a heavy-duty motor, extra batteries, increase the amount of amps that you can crank and change the gearing, stuff like that. But you know, these bikes, when people think of an e-bike, they think of like a bicycle with a little motor on it. But this is what they're riding in Philly. They're riding stuff like this. This is a very typical Philly e-bike. It's basically a motorcycle. Motorcycle frame, motorcycle headlights, motorcycle tires. It's got pedals on it, but it's basically a motorcycle with pedals on it. And these things will do upwards of 60 miles an hour. Okay, so it says here the city saw more serious crashes involving motorized vehicles than manual ones last year, spurring calls for action. And this here is Nicole Brunette, president of the PA Safe Roads PAC, says there's a lot of technology out there that there's no real enforcement and regulation. It's causing devices to be on the road that are unsafe. In 2025, e-bikes and e-scooters were involved in 197 crashes on city streets, a 40% increase over 2024. So that's almost 50% higher every year. 4 riders were killed and 193 were injured in those collisions. Meanwhile, 193 reported crashes involved standard bikes. E-bikes and scooters are poorly defined in Pennsylvania law. The ambiguity makes it hard for government to identify the problems. State law authorizes use of low-speed electric bikes, those that weigh less than 100 pounds, have engines that generate no more than 750 watts of power, and travel below 20 miles an hour on public roadways. But that's not the ones we're talking about. We're talking about the hopped-up ones. This narrow definition does not differentiate among the many new types of electric bikes or e-scooters for sale, which can reach speeds of up to 60 miles an hour or even 100 miles an hour. 60 to 100 miles an hour. Here's a typical shot here. They have this delivery bike, again one of those fat-tired delivery vehicles with the crates on the back. These kind of bikes are zinging up and down the sidewalks. It's like there's more bikes than people in a lot of thoroughfares. This is interesting. So basically they have the different types here. This is what people think of an e-bike, but that's not really what they're riding. They're riding that right there, right? That's the motorized petacycle. Motorcycle equipped with pedals, yes. Motorized petacycles, which can range from 25 miles an hour and up, represent a gray area of classification. And yeah, and you have to have a Class C license to drive them, but of course nobody riding these bikes has Class C license. I would be surprised if anyone riding especially the delivery drivers, I'd be surprised if they had driver's licenses at all. A lot of them are kids. But yeah, over 20 miles an hour with some models reaching 60 miles an hour or faster. And the scooters too, this is the other thing. The electric scooters, people think of them as like a 10, 15 mile an hour thing. No, not anymore. These things are hopped up to go really fast. It blows my mind. I see someone on one of these things going, doing like 40 miles an hour down through Center City, like faster than the cars, like twice as fast as the automobiles, like zipping between them and just going down Broad Street, no helmet, no gloves, anything, standing straight up on a scooter, like they're literally standing right, not leaning into it, you know, and they're on a scooter, so the wheels are like 2 feet, a foot and a half apart, like this far apart, and they're standing in the middle or near the front wheel. I mean, imagine your center of gravity is way up here, and you got a wheel right there, and it's like you hit a pothole, a little tiny little wheel, you hit a little crack in the road or something, you're going, poing, boing, you're being catapulted. There's no statistics that they published on how many people wreck in these little scooters. But my God, I mean, how many people are ending up in the hospital wiping out on scooters? And it's always really young people who, obviously, it's like, oh, this person hasn't had their first crash. Well, it's going to be a doozy, you know. If your first crash is on an e-scooter and you're doing 30 miles an hour, standing straight up on the street and hit that crack, hit that pothole, and you get launched, boy, no helmet, no gloves, no gear. You're going to remember that one. The article goes on to say that models can travel between 21 and 28 miles an hour. They're classified as motorized bicycles. You must have insurance. This is all the laws, but of course, none of the people riding in Philly have insurance. The lower powered e-bikes provide pedal assist, which cuts it off at 20 miles an hour. But that's really just the city bikes, those big, heavy rental bikes that you put into the chargers and you rent time on them. Those things won't go more than 15, 20 miles an hour, and they're power assist pedal bikes. But that's not what people are riding on the sidewalks. They're riding these hopped up e-scooters. The crash data on electric bikes include vehicles known as e-motos, e/motos, which look like a pedal bike but go faster than 20 miles an hour. In general, e-motos being lumped in with e-bikes is causing a lot of confusion and issues as communities and states try to regulate the higher speed bikes, yes. Recently released PennDOT data include at least 92 crashes in Philly involving e-scooters, which are technically illegal to ride on public streets in Pennsylvania. Technically illegal to ride, there's literally like 10,000 of them in Center City right now, zooming along. It's just, there's so many of them, and they're technically illegal. Some of the e-scooters have a top speed of 60 miles an hour, which is crazy fast, Boyle said. The law is basically ignored. Yep, and the cops. I mean, I watch them sitting in their cars, and they don't do anything. They don't care. Someone on an e-bike just goes right through a red light at 60 miles an hour. Cops just sitting there. They're not even looking at it. There's a great market in electric scooters and bikes available for purchase, transportation experts told the Inquirer. You can purchase electric bikes and scooters for $800 on Amazon, and they have 1,000 to 2,000 watts, Boyle said. Bikes sometimes marketed as Class 2, meaning their motor tops out at 20 miles an hour, but with a few basic adjustments, you can easily go faster. This is one of the things an e-bike flew past me last week. It was over cranking so much that the motor, it was making this really loud, high-pitched squealing sound. It was probably the bearing was probably liquefying, but this kid was flying down the street at just incredible speed, and the motor was just going whee. It was just, it was just this high-pitched whee. It was probably designed to go half that speed, and they probably had double or triple batteries on it, and they were just cooking the motor. Motorcycles, unlike e-motos, have quality standards and regulations. It's true. If you're riding a piston-driven motorcycle, you have to have a Class C license, you have to have insurance on that, and you have to stop at the red lights, and you've got to obey the traffic laws, and cops will pull you over if you're not doing all that. If you don't have a license plate on it, if you don't have it inspected, yada yada. It's just like a car. If you park it anywhere, they charge you, the same ticket if you don't pay the parking space for a car. But an e-bike, sidewalks, red lights, speed limits, no, none of that. Do whatever you want. No license, fast as you want, no traffic laws, red lights, stop signs. Pfft. 2 wheels, 1 wheel. I've seen them go 1 wheel through the red light. Pop a wheelie, sure. And then, of course, people are saying Philly just needs to build better bike infrastructure. What difference does it make in bike infrastructure? We have bike lanes. E-bikes are never in the bike lanes. They just go on the sidewalk. Why ride in an inconvenient bike lane when the sidewalk is right there? You just do 60 on the sidewalk. They don't use the bike lanes. There's practically nobody using the bike lanes in Philly. New York, I was up in New York, and the bike lanes are crazy. It's like, crazy, like congested with traffic and e-bikes. They use the bike lanes. In Philly, everybody's on the sidewalk. The bike lane's right there, but they don't use the bike lane. But yeah, it's a huge problem, and it's just. I mean, you can't rein it in. Once it gets established in the culture that you get an e-bike and there's no rules and you just do whatever you want, I mean, the sheer number of bikes on the sidewalks, there are as many e-bikes on the sidewalks as pedestrians. And I talked about this before, that it's amazing that I haven't been run over by an e-bike yet, because I'm out walking around every day. And it's basically just me and the e-scooters. And they come up from behind, they zip past your shoulder, and it's just two lanes of motorized traffic on the sidewalk, and here I am just walking along, and bikes are going boom, 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 and coming towards me and cutting off each other and battling. It's freaking Thunderdome. I have no idea how I haven't gotten hit. It's been close. People have like fractions of an inch on my shoulder with handlebars. It's been so close, but it's just statistically a matter of time before some idiot runs me over. I mean, it's just impossible to think that I could walk every day in the city and not get hit by a bike. It's like it's like hornets just buzzing around you. Eventually, some idiot's gonna just plow into you. I mean, it's just inevitability. They should have a helmet to be in the street. Should. Well, there's a helmet law for motorcycles. If you ride a motorcycle, there's a helmet law. If you're on a scooter or an e-bike, there's no helmet law. So whenever I see people on these tiny little scooters doing 30, 40 miles an hour down the street, no helmet, no gloves, no gear. Same with the e-bikes. The e-bikers, they never have any gear. So fine, you want to take your chances, but e-bike all day doing deliveries, I mean, they get tired, they go without sleep. I mean, the idea that someone's riding around in a 2,500 to 3,000 watt bike and they haven't slept in 2 days is the thing that worries me. Actually, we have helmet laws for bicycles. Well, what good is a law that is never enforced? I've never seen a bicyclist taken over by a cop for anything. For going through a red light, for popping a wheelie, for riding on the sidewalk. Yeah, it used to be illegal. It's technically still is illegal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk until everybody in the city started riding their bicycles on the sidewalk. When they introduced the city bikes, that was the beginning of the end, because the rental bikes made it so that everybody was riding a bike who wasn't experienced in bikes. When I was riding in the city 15 years ago, bicyclists were the ones telling people not to ride on the sidewalk. If you hopped off the road and got on the sidewalk, everybody would scream and yell at you, and other bikers would scream and yell at you. Hey, walk the bike on the sidewalk. You don't ride on the sidewalk. And then when the city bikes came out and everyone could rent a bike, and there was 10, 15, 20,000 of them in the city, and everybody's pedaling along, well, it's like, oh, it's too unsafe to ride on the street, because I'm not wearing a helmet, I'm not messing up my hair, I'm not wearing gloves, I'm not wearing gear, I'm pedaling on the sidewalk. And then all of a sudden there's 10,000, 20,000 bikes on the sidewalk, and now it's like, what good is having the law when everybody is riding a bike on the sidewalk without a helmet? Make all the laws you want. If you're not enforcing any of the laws, they don't exist. It doesn't exist. So, and then, it was just a matter of time before those rental pedal bikes became rental power assist bikes. And then once people got used to the power assist bikes, everyone was just buying e-motos. And now it's just e-motos zipping around the sidewalks. And now the sidewalk is a freeway. And that's the current reality. Do they have many bike lanes in Philadelphia? Bike advocates would say Philadelphia is sadly lacking in bike lanes, but we actually do have a lot of bike lanes, and they're largely unused by bicyclists. They just don't use them. I mean, the bike lane's right there, but they'll be on the sidewalk, inevitably. So streets that do have the bike lanes aren't used by bicyclists. The bicyclists don't use the bike lanes, they just ride it right on the sidewalk. It's just the way it is. So yes, we do have bike lanes, but cyclists don't use them. Especially motorcyclists don't use them. Motorcyclists use the sidewalk.
In the lab. That's where I work. In the lab. Go berserk. In my lab. That's where I work.